Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
They resistant and committed to what you're saying, cause they can flip it the minute that you refrain. Read the book and the lines and literature in between. You gotta be educated when going against the grain. Pay attention. They are legitimate in their claims. They assisted in the killing and pillaging. In addition to the addiction, shit is much bigger than just in plain.
What up, y'all? BAM TV. We on part 2 of our player profile series. Today we highlight 94 Joe, aka Joe Biden, and his 94 crime bill, which he deemed and named after himself, called the Biden laws. I'll let him explain.
So I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill, and has had a majority vote of the Democratic members of the United States Senate on the bill. So one of the things I want to do in addition to ending crime is end the political carnage that goes on when we talk about crime. Crime is not Democrat or Republican. Making the streets safe is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is one of those issues I hope this passage of this bill will be taken out of the gridlock category and moved into an emerging consensus. And the consensus is as follows, and I will cease when I finish this statement. The consensus is, A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one.
The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, aka the 94 Crime Bill, aka the Biden crime law. I would explain, but he'll do it.
Let me set the record straight on this bill. The underlying bill, which is now the Biden-Hatch bill, was the Biden bill. A guy named Biden wrote that bill, and he wrote that bill by going down and sitting down with the President of the United States of America, not with his Attorney General, not with anyone else, with Bill Clinton, President of the United States of America, who between the time he got elected in November until the time he was sworn in, called me at my home on 6 separate occasions. And he unfortunately doesn't need a lot of sleep. Sometimes literally, and I say this on the record, as late as 11:30 at night, to discuss why I wasn't moving quicker on the Biden crime bill from before. I sat with him, not with his Attorney General. He wanted 100,000 policemen. He does not view this as a social issue as opposed to trying to bring peace and security to the streets.
Again, as you heard him say, this bill provided 100,000 new police officers in each state, along with $9.7 billion in funding for prisons. So they was done with rehabilitation. But if you want to know the reason and why, I'll let him explain. Check this out.
There's a second thing that we all have agreed upon, and that is unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. You're looking at the fellow who was one of the primary architects of the Sentencing Commission. You know what the basic premise of the Sentencing Commission is? I know the presiding officer knows. It was the first time in 80 years we rejected the notion that the condition of sentencing must be related to how long it would take to rehabilitate. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time.
There's your 85%. Again, it's not about rehabilitation. You heard him say multiple times that he's over that. It's about building and filling these prisons. Because, quote unquote, we're predators. But who sponsors this type of thought? Check this out.
I would like to put into the record the endorsement letters from the 6 major police organizations: the Fraternal Order of Police, the National Association of Police Organizations, the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Sheriff's Association, National Troopers Coalition, and Delaware State Troopers Association, National Organization for Victims Assistance, National Victims Center, National Association for Crime Compensation Boards, and National Association of State Alcohol and Drug Abuse Directors, Incorporated. I would like to say, we would not have this bill. I've worked for 5 years in this bill with the police of this nation. Every one of those police organizations I've spoken about, their leaders have sat in my office, in my conference room, in my inner office for literally, if you add it all up, several hundred hours. We would not be here were it not for the police helping fashion this bill. And I want to pay public tribute to them now, and I would ask that the letters associated with each of the organizations I listed be entered in the record.
So as you see here, this man spent no time with public representation, no time with NAACP, no time with the city councilmen, no time with community activists. But what he did do, he spent time with enforcement, with police unions, police chiefs. So it wasn't about you, in other words. But if you want to know how he thinks, check this out.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
But you forgot to add that you was a main contributor of the 94 crime bill. A bill that ravaged our community and sent men to prison for convictions under the Truth in Sentencing Act, aka the 3 Strikes Law, which meant that if they got hit with 3 felony convictions or 3 convictions, they could be sentenced up to life. But in that sentence, they will also be sentenced to at least completion of 85% of the time that was handed to them. So not only did you ravage our community, you sent people to jail and you broke up our household. Did you forget to add that? I'm not even going to sit here and waste my time and explain who you were. We're talking about you in 1994. We're not even going to speak on what you are now. That'll be later on. But as far as your Biden law, aka the 94 crime bill, that's on your record. But anyway, this is BAM TV. I appreciate y'all. Like, share, subscribe. We got a lot more on the way. Much love.